Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Oklahoma Sportscene, presented by Jimmy's Egg. It is August, and that means it's football time. It's finally returned here. Got a great lineup of people for us here. And Coach Cloud, guys, the sports editor of the Tulsa World, Michael Peters, will join us.
Michael Peters, a Texan by birth.
That's right.
Beaumont, Texas, Texas A&M grad, but has been the sports editor here 8 years, and we've seen that evolve over that time with the Tulsa World, and I'm sure he'll have some exciting things to tell us about the Tulsa World.
And of course, Jamie, August is a month where all these preseason magazines hit the stands and stuff, and we got the best one in the area here, Austin Chadwick's VYPE magazine.
Well, and when you talk about Austin Chadwick and the fact that you go back to Union High School where he played and what he has done starting that magazine, and if you miss it, you are missing a lot of great information about high school football in Oklahoma.
What was he telling us, Gil? How many high schools? Over 300 high schools he's covering in there?
Oh, no. There's 465 members of the Activities Association, and about 395 play football.
Wow. So. And you also have previews of our football schools as well. Of course, OU, OSU, and the University of Tulsa. Well, we also have a very special guest, and Coach Ted Owens, legendary Hall of Fame basketball coach from the University of Kansas. He'll be taking part in the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame inductions. We'll be talking to Ted about that and about his national championship, and it wasn't in basketball. All right, guys, hot topic, roundtable discussions. I guess the fact that high school, college, NFL camps is finally underway. We've had our first preseason game, Baltimore beating the Chicago Bears, 17-16, whatever that's worth, before the Hall of Fame inductions. Your thoughts on football finally getting underway?
Well, probably the hottest topic with us right now is Urban Meyer.
Ooh, that's right, for sure.
Wow. Urban starts out the season with a little bit of a problem in that there's some disingenuousness, I understand, with the media, and then a recanting of that. And that's difficult when you're in the fishbowl, like a Division I coach is. You can't afford to do anything. I mean, you really can't. And I hope for his sake and Ohio State that it works out. But it appears right now the media is relentless.
And it's $7 million at stake, his contract at Ohio State, so that's a lot of money there too, Coach.
Well, the thing that bothers me on that is, what are they really charging? Did he know that an assistant coach was doing something? Is that what they're getting him for?
Yeah.
And did not report to the school.
Did at that time.
Yeah.
They did subsequently report later on.
Yeah.
But I think in 2009 is when it first occurred. Wow. And of course, what they're saying is that Urban's wife knew, because this lady texted her. They were friends, coaching staff wives situation. And you think she didn't tell Urban? I mean, so,
Then Coach made it worse by at the Big Ten Media Days saying, I know nothing about this.
I don't know anything about it.
Now they've got an email trail, and it's a mess at Ohio State. And Ohio State's got some other problems. They've got a wrestling coach involved in something and something else involved in the school there, so they're sensitive about it anyway. So.
And when you get in the target, you're going to be there. And it's like we tell people, when I was at Northeastern, I had a kid that the NCAA was coming in to investigate because when he was at Texas Tech. And he comes in and his eyes are wide and everything. And he said, Coach, what should I tell him? I said, how about the truth?
I
mean, just tell the truth. The truth will set you free. And if that puts a problem in somebody's mind, then that's too bad. It's their problem, because the truth is all you can live with. So.
And usually, it's not so much the initial sin as it is lying about the sin.
That's right.
It catches up with you. So it's a mess, and we'll find out with Urban Meyer. I'm sure the next show will have some resolution, they keep saying, at Ohio State. Well, the first coaches preseason poll, the coaches poll, has been released, and I guess no real surprise, Gil, of who the top teams are on top there.
The top five: Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia, and Oklahoma. I think the second five kind of interesting: Washington, Wisconsin, Miami, Penn State, and Auburn. And then, of course, you go down through there, and the next nearest is TCU at 16 out of the Big 12. And then we've got, I think, Oklahoma State at 25 and West Virginia at 20.
Texas 21.
Texas 21. Yep. I think that is a give up. I don't think Texas is ready to be in the top 25 yet.
I think Oklahoma State's better than 25. Too.
I do too. Well, what was it? They had Boise State at 22.
And they come to Stillwater. That's right.
They opened with Oklahoma State. So that's going to be an interesting game.
Well, I think West Virginia is going to surprise a bunch of people.
Yeah.
I mean, they got that good quarterback.
Right.
And the fact that their coach is a competitor.
Yep.
And that makes a difference.
He'll find a way. He's very innovative in his play calling. And I think he makes them a heck of a lot better than the talent they have.
And he will change immediately.
Yep.
I mean, he won't get on something and just stay. He'll change.
Exactly.
And Coach, high school football already got underway. How many years is this now for the high school preview in Tulsa?
The Grady Skellerian 76th annual preview. 76 years with Grady Skellerian. That was one of the great things when we started the Hall of Fame. Grady Skellerian was in our first class.
Sure.
But what a deal. It's the longest running preseason scrimmage in the nation. And 76 consecutive years. This year is a little different.
Yeah, talk about the format and how it works. It's August 16th and 17th, right?
And we'll be playing at the 3 different stadiums. The first night we'll be playing at S.C. Williams and Memorial at La Fortune, and then the championship finals will be at Eastside, which is on the campus of East Central High School. And I think the thing this year, the matchups are going to be interesting because for the first time in many years, Booker T is not going to be in the mix. With Booker T moving to 6A, right. Coach Caleb, who is the head football coach, but also the athletics director, and I felt that it would be in their best interest to, since they're going to be in 6A, to scrimmage at the 6A level. And so that leaves it wide open for the 5A schools and the 4A schools that we have left. And so I think there's going to be some interesting matchups. And for the first time in 10 years, there'll be a new champion because Booker T has won 10 in a row.
Oh, I think that is just tremendous. I think it's great for Booker T from the standpoint that they'd go play for 2 nights and they didn't get a whole lot better as a result of the way they had to play. But now, when they go to Jinx and face those teams, it's going to be good for all of them.
That'll be a challenge. I think that'd be good. I think it's good for everybody.
Yeah.
I really do.
Well, coming up, I also want to mention Triple Crown winner has officially been retired now. Justify, we mentioned fluid in his leg and stuff. They were watching it carefully, decided not to push him, not to take a chance. Why do you want to mess a perfect record up in a Triple Crown? So Justify has been retired, and that sets us up to look ahead to our next show, where we'll have Dale Day from Remington Park to preview the thoroughbred season coming to Remington Park at the end of this month. Right now, we have a very special guest, Coach. Welcome in here, Jimmy Zaig. Zaig is joining us here on the set. Our title sponsor, Jimmy Zaig.
Hey,
here.
Jim.
And I tell you, nothing like Jimmy Zaig. Coach, you picked this one up at 71st and Garnett.
71st and Garnett. I saw Jimmy on Sunday morning, and Jimmy wanted to come and see us. And so we're glad to have Jimmy. Jimmy, I tell you, Jimmy Zaig, my wife and I probably eat 3 Sundays out of 4 every month at the 71st and Garnett location, which is very outstanding. Great management there, and the food is always really good. And we really appreciate Jimmy Zaig.
Absolutely. 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. And the great thing about it, Coach, you can get breakfast at 6 a.m. or you can get a cheeseburger at 6 a.m. all day.
That's true. And I go in there a lot about 11 and have breakfast. But you can't beat Jimmy Zaig the way they treat you.
Yes.
And the food is delicious.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not hungry, the way they treat you, you get hungry.
And if you're real lucky, you might run into Jimmy Zaig at one of the places here in Tulsa. We have 3 locations in Tulsa. We have on the other side of the state, 17 in Oklahoma City. Enjoy Jimmy Zaig. We sure do and appreciate their support. Oklahoma Sportscene. Back with more right after this.
Henry Primo for Primo Mitsubishi. We're the #1 Mitsubishi dealer in July in Oklahoma, and we're only 90 days old. With school starting, football coming, and summer ending, now's the time for a new vehicle. Our prices are still the same. 2018 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport, $17,995, and a 2018 Mitsubishi Mirage for $12,995. We still have 0% financing, free loaner cars, and your own concierge service. Come catch the excitement. Primo Mitsubishi, 15309 South Memorial.
Every minute, every day, and every night, there's someone who needs us. Every week and every year, we bring something new to the way we care for individuals and our communities. Every thought and every action is spent improving the way we imagine health and wellness. Because every child, every woman, and every man deserves the best possible life. St. Francis Health System. Healthcare for life.
At Rogers State University, we keep things personal.
It all starts here.
We make sure our graduates get the most out of their education.
RSU has campuses in Claremore, Bartlesville, and Pryor, with on-campus housing and a wide variety of programs to suit your needs.
It all starts here.
Rogers State University.
Oklahoma Sportscene's had a great relationship with the Tulsa World newspaper. You've seen a lot of their writers and columnists on the show, but we finally got the man with us here, Michael Peters. He's the sports editor of the Tulsa World. Michael, welcome to Oklahoma Sportscene.
Well, thank you very much. Like I said, it's a pleasure. I hear all the good things about the show and hear about Barry Lewis and Bill Haston being on, and so it's exciting to join you guys and kind of visit for a little bit.
Give us a bit of your background. Now, you 7 years now as sports editor?
7 years as a sports editor of the Tulsa World. I was at the Houston Chronicle for 3 years before that. I was worked in Beaumont, Texas, which is my hometown, for a couple of different stints there. Also worked in Galveston. Like I say, I don't say this too loud in Oklahoma. I went to Texas A&M, and so proud Aggie graduate, and that's been I've had actually some opportunity, I guess, a couple of years ago to go back and talk to their journalism school, which was kind of a neat thing to do, and so it's been exciting to be here. My family loves being here, and so we just actually I used to make fun of people in town, and now because I was living in Owasso, and so I'd make fun of people in town because nobody wants to go further than 2 minutes away from anything if you live in town. Well, in November we moved into town, and now we don't. If it's further than 5 minutes away, we don't go.
Nobody's had a longer relationship with the Tulsa World than our coach J.B. Haney. When did you start reading the Tulsa World?
I started reading it in 1939. Now my father would be reading the cartoons and the comics to us, and then he made us have to read some. So I've been around a long time.
Yes. Well, and like I say, and luckily the newspaper has too, and it's and we kind of keep going, and that's a good thing. Like I say, that's as hard as things are, and things have changed, and things have changed a lot, not just from 1939, but even from when I started in 1993. It's kind of a different world for certain, and things have changed and focuses have changed, but it's still important, and that's what I like about it. And it's still valuable, and it still means a lot to people in this community, and that's one of the reasons it's a lot of fun to be the sports editor here, because sports is so important in this community, and people follow the paper so much and have a relationship like you've talked about, and that's what's real important. That's what is a neat thing about being here and being in the newspaper.
Well, I get a lot of jokes about this. But I cannot really have a decent day if I can't start reading the Tulsa World. And that's the first thing I do every morning. And I don't care what happens, I will be reading it, thick, thin, or in between. Yes. I will go get it and be reading.
Not the electronic version.
No. I want to hold it in my hands.
Yeah, I'm old-fashioned that way too.
I normally get it on the first bounce. I'm waiting for those, and I pick it up and I'm ready to go.
Well, and that's what they talk about. That's the most important thing if you survey people, and that's why deadline business and deadlines are so important, because the most important thing, it's not the scores, it's not what's in there. Most people, at least traditionally, cancel the newspaper because it's not there on time, and it's not there when they need it to be there.
As we move into the digital age and everybody is involved with that, what do you think the greatest challenges are going to be in the newspaper business over the next 10 years?
Well, I just think that it's just going to be the changing face of it, and I think as I would guess that at some point, papers more so than they have now will go to less days, probably, less days of the hard copy, more days where you're reading it on your your iPad or on your computer. I know that my stepmother subscribes to the Houston Chronicle. She lives in Houston, and when she comes to visit us, she has her iPad with her, and they in fact have gotten to where they only get it a couple of days a week because they get it on their iPad the rest of the days. And I think that's going to be kind of the next evolution that you see. I know that we print the Oklahoman in our building. I think we print the Wall Street Journal and USA Today as well. So that's still happening for us. But like I say, the Oklahoman doesn't print a newspaper anymore. We do that for them. I think that'll be the different thing. And then it's just a way to make it viable still, and the way to make it to where it supports itself. And I think now what people are the theory in the newspaper industry is that you're asking people like Coach Haney over there that we need more of your help than we have in the past. It used to be far more of a advertising based initiative. Advertising paid the freight. What you paid to get it on your doorstep was only a percentage of what it actually costs for us to put it there. Now we're asking readers to pay a little bit more, and there's there's some growing pains in that, but I still think it's a valuable thing. I still think it's important. I still think we do good work, and I think if you want that and if you value that in your community, people are going to have to kind of pay for it just like they pay for anything else.
Michael Peters, sports editor of the Tulsa World. Michael, what's your sports philosophy? I know we really tend to think more local, regional with our papers and our TV and radio here.
Well, and that's one of the things that's been, it's important to consider. Usually, I mean, it's local first, and we do OU and OSU and Tulsa. We then, in our high schools, those are kind of our four. Oral Roberts. Those are kind of that's our key. Then we back through a little bit, and we have the Drillers and the Roughnecks and some of our minor league sports, and then some of the other things that happen locally that you kind of try to keep track of. And then we back into more regional things. We don't, I guess, just philosophically, the paper didn't have someone cover the Thunder like on a real full-time basis at the start of the franchise, and because of that, we do that more of kind of a here and there basis. We have a sharing agreement with the Oklahomans, so we share some of those things, and that's kind of how we do it. And then after that, you get to things that are kind of regional and national, and that's the things that, as we get smaller, those are the things that we kind of have to cut back a little bit on.
We come back more with Michael Peters, talk about some of his award-winning columns, some of the awards, amazing awards the Tulsa World has been winning the last few years, and their World Awards ceremony has been its second year and been a real success here to honor high school students in the area here and high school athletes. All that coming up more on Oklahoma Sports Scene. Michael Peters, the Tulsa World. Stay with us.
Three o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight.
Remington Park is now officially open around the clock. That's right, we are 24/7.
We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. We're gonna rock till broad daylight. Gonna rock around the clock tonight.
So when we say the party never ends, you better believe it. Remington Park, now open 24/7.
Celebrate your home today at Bowen's Discount Carpet for our Shop and Compare sale. Take advantage of our guaranteed lowest prices you can find, great deals on new Shaw floors, and a huge variety of brands and colors that you will have to see to believe. Let Shaw Floors spice up your space, along with 36 years of experience, and the beauty of your floors will shine. Come out to Bowen's, where we refuse to be undersold.
Back on Jimmy Zane's Oklahoma Sports Scene, and our guest, Michael Peters, the sports editor of the Tulsa World. Michael, talk about some of your staff members, award-winning group, and the paper's won many awards too.
Oh, yeah. We have I think, I don't know that I've worked ever with any group that works harder than our group works. And so I know, we value the Associated Press Sports Editors is a group that I'm belong to and have belonged to for probably, I guess, now the last 18 years since I've been a sports editor. And that, I think, has probably the gold standard when it comes to contests and sports journalism. And so this past year, we were honored with their Grand Slam Award, which means we were top 10 in the nation in our in our Sunday section, daily section, special section, and our website for papers that are from 35,000 to 75,000 in circulation. And so that's a huge honor for our group. I know also Cody Stavenhagen, who used to cover OU for us, who left to go work for The Athletic. He won a couple of writing awards this past year, as did Garen Emig, honored as one of the top columnists in the country. And then I know that between Garen and Bill Haston and Mike Brown and Barry Lewis, I think we've had the last 4 consecutive Oklahoma Sports Writers of the Year from the Broadcasters and Writers National Writers Association. So But beyond that, though, it's just a really hard-working group, and they just really dig in and work so hard. Especially, I was talking to Coach Cloud beforehand and talking about how difficult this time of year is and how busy everybody is. And just like he's extremely busy, we're extremely busy this time of year because things just, turn on like a faucet at this time of year. And it is really, and our guys work so hard keeping track of it. Mark Cooper's covering, Oklahoma State for us. He was at the their media day and their fan day here this first part of August, and Eric Bailey, who I don't know that anybody works harder than Eric Bailey and is just tireless in his efforts, and he covers Oklahoma. Kelly Hines, who's covering University of Tulsa for us and who's doing a really good job, and obviously Mike Brown and Barry Lewis. I consider those guys definitely the gold standard for coverage of high school sports in the state of Oklahoma. And it's just a great group. And then that doesn't even get into the folks that we have that work behind the scenes. We have a really, designers and desk people who work and whose names aren't out or who don't get a chance to be on TV like I get a chance to be on TV. And that's just as part of, big part of our success is anybody else, the people that work back in the office and put the print product out, update the website. Those are all hard things to do and have, much less notoriety than some of the guys that are out there covering stuff, but they work just as hard.
One of the things that is with the digital and with the 24-hour ESPN and ESPN2 and ESPN3 and everything, the dissemination of information is instantaneous. So it appears to me, as I've read the newspaper for many years, not since 1939, I was not even born in 1939, but 7 years later. Yeah. But anyhow, it appears that the people like Garen and Bill and those people who are columnists really are writing more feature stories rather than news stories.
A little bit. I just think some of it is their personalities, I think, and kind of some of the ways that they approach the job. I think it's also, part of it is kind of how things have shrunk a little bit. It's that, you used to have somebody who you would just say, your job is to go out and write a really great story, go find one and go write it. And, when I first got here, Jimmy Trammell did a lot of that before he moved over into our features department.
John Klein.
And John, yes. Yeah. And so those would be people that you would just say, hey, go get them. And so, and we would have a Sunday feature that was, really outstanding. And I think some of that is that we now have to have our columns, based on the staffing that we have, to do all of those things. They have not only have to have news, like I say, and Bill has done quite his share, especially with some of the things that happened at ORU when Scott Sutton left, when Bill Blankenship moved, from Arkansas back to Owasso, and those kind of things. But then also, have projects. I know Garen wrote a big project on TPS last year that was actually a nationally award-winning project, and I got a lot of good feedback from people in the community. And so those things are really important. And it's just that now, instead of having one person who can assign out to go do that, Garen and Bill are they're the opinion leaders of our newspaper. They are the people who have the most time and the most ability. And so we have to ask those guys, hey, not only do we need you to do the daily stuff, we need you to go out and hit this project or hit this feature.
Coach? Well, the thing that really gets me is the fact that you mentioned this, that I'm sure it's going to probably go to 3 days a week. But for those of us who were born and raised with it, it's really going to be tough to follow.
It will be, and I did that too. And that's one of the reasons. There's a lot of newspapers in the country that don't run baseball boxes, and we still run baseball boxes. And part of that somewhat goes back to my grandfather. He lived in Beaumont, and when I worked at the paper, he read the paper every single day, and he got to the point where it was tough for him to see, but he got a magnifying glass out and went through it every single day, and he watched every Astros game. And there are too many people like that who read our newspaper who value that information that I would not, unless someone makes me take that away, I'm not going to do that, because that's just it's too valuable to people. And so I know what you're talking about. Like I say, my grandfather read it until in his early 90s, and it's important to a lot of people, and it's important to me too. Like I say, I think What will happen, though, is that as a new generation comes, I'm hopeful there will be a new generation of people who will pick us up in these different avenues.
Michael, in our final minute here, congratulations on the All World Award. It's been a great success in your second year, and you're already starting to plan the next one.
We're already starting to plan it. We have one of our meetings now. It's been very successful, very enjoyable. A way to honor high school athletes in the Tulsa area. We've had a lot of good, Alan Trimble and then Coach Gilbert, who was our Lifetime Achievement Award winners. We've had some really special comeback player of the year stories that have been told in the first couple of years. The best thing is just to see the smiling faces and to see how happy people are when they come to the awards banquet. People seem to enjoy it, and we enjoy putting it on.
We have something for you to enjoy here as our guest on Sports Scene. Oh, Barry Lewis will hate you for this.
Tell Barry that you're not taking him to Jimmy's Egg. You're going by yourself.
Well, you know what? I bet you my wife is going to enjoy Jimmy's Egg quite a bit. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it.
Michael, I'll tell you about Jimmy's Egg right now. In fact, too, of course, they're open from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. every day. We have 19 company locations. You folks in Oklahoma City have 17 to choose from. Here in Tulsa, we have 3 locations on 3948 Peoria, Kenosha in Broken Arrow, and Memorial in Bixby. And Coach was just up at the one there and invited Jimmy's Egg. We'll have had her on the show earlier today and stuff.
First in Garnett, and Jimmy is going to make an appearance.
That's right. Well, of course, you can win breakfast for a year now. A new competition over there. They also have Pancake Happy Hour at Jimmy's Egg. That's from 11 to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. Nothing any sweeter than that. We'll tell you more about Jimmy's Egg later on. But right now, let's go to J.B. Haney with an update on the Greater Tulsa Reporter.
Well, the Greater Tulsa Reporter, if you haven't seen this month, you really need to do so, because Forrest Cameron and his wife Sharon have put together here a tremendous paper that covers the political, the religious, the entertainment, any interest you might have in metropolitan Tulsa, you'll find here. And then Terrell Lester, he wrote a great column on John Phillips, former head basketball coach at Tulsa University. If you miss it, you have really missed a lot of just great information. Pick one up and read it today, won't you?
Henry Primo for Primo Mitsubishi. We're the #1 Mitsubishi dealer in July in Oklahoma, and we're only 90 days old. With school starting, football coming, and summer ending, now's the time for a new vehicle. Our prices are still the same. 2018 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport, $17,995, and a 2018 Mitsubishi Mirage for $12,995. We still have 0% financing, free loaner cars, and your own concierge service. Come catch the excitement. Primo Mitsubishi, 15309 South Memorial.
August, of course, the time for all the preseason football magazines to hit the stands, and none are bigger or better than our man Austin Chadwick's VYPE magazine. Austin, great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Publisher, give us some of the background history of VYPE magazine.
Oh gosh, well, we started 2005, so this is our 13th or 14th year now. We've been doing a pigskin preview with Mark Rogers for the last 10 years, and so we've got all of our regional magazines all over the state that we do for 8 different regions of Oklahoma, and then for the football preview, we put everything together and we go write about every team in the state and get as much information as we can. So,
well, what a great publication and so good for the high schools, and now you've kind of morphed into the colleges as well.
Yeah, we like to give a little bit of college content with it. So we'll have guys like Toby Rowland, of course, the voice of the Sooners. He'll write all the OU content. John Holcomb will do the OSU content, and then John Hoover will do my TU content. So it just gives it a little bit of a college flavor and a little flair to it. But the concentration is on high school. We'll get and you know this, Coach. We'll get it because you'll sometimes get a call if we can't get a hold of a coach. We'll get a questionnaire or an interview with every high school coach in the state. We'll have a write-up on every team in the state. And
how many schools is that?
It's over 400 schools. Now the basketball gets into 450, 500. Football, they don't play. There's not near as many schools, but it doesn't matter if you're in Altus, Hollis, Woodward, or Tulsa. I mean, we're gonna get you one way or another. So,
Austin, we mentioned this earlier, but it seems to me like in visiting with coaches, especially during the coaches clinic from the western part of the state, and I can't remember a time in my era of coaching that there is as much disagreement that you find in the East and from the West. Now, in your publications, are you running across that?
A little bit. There's always a little bit of animosity, if you will. And I think a lot of it has to do with you just get into that 6A argument with enrollment. I mean, that's where the crux of all of it comes from. But overall, these coaches, there's a lot of pride on the east side of the state and the same on the west side of the state. And they get after it pretty good, but they have to find an issue or two to disagree with, and then they get after each other pretty good, outside of being on the football field. So, but overall, I think everybody tries to be as cordial and polite as possible. And so it's, but it makes for good competition. And on the field, when you look at East versus West, what Gil's done and what all the Tulsa public schools have done with Booker T being strong, and then some of the other schools obviously having a resurgence in their football programs really, really helps. And we take a lot of pride. I'm an East Side guy. I'm an old Union guy. I played for Bill Blankenship. So I love to see, your Wagners and your Glenpools and your Tulsa Public Schools and Union and Jenks and Wasso. I love to see them all do well against those West Side schools because, don't tell them. They think they invented football over there sometimes, Coach. You spent some time over there.
Yeah, I know. But it's kind of that East Side pride.
No doubt.
And I think and you're right. What lent to that was the dominance in 6A.
Sure.
There's no question. 22, 23 years now, and it's relentless. One of the things that we looked at, as during the time when I was at the Union, we never ever considered a second school.
Right.
I mean, it was never in any strategic plan, long range plan, and they all split, and it took them time to really to morph into a viable 6A entity, and it's something that I know reluctantly Broken Arrow is now discussing.
They got to work on it. Yeah. I think when you get to a point where you get too big, you have to have those conversations. But you're right. One of the guys I played for was a coach on the west side of the state. He took his team to the state championship a handful of years ago. And he said, funding wise, we would have alumni come back, want to donate to our particular program. Well, they couldn't do that. They had to donate it to the entire district, and then it dispersed from there. And then he made a great comment, and you can attest to this. He said, kids come for our 7th and 8th grade camps, and I don't know who's going to be playing for me. And this is a coach at a pretty predominant school in Oklahoma City, in the Oklahoma City area. And his school, there's 3 schools in that district, and he doesn't know who he's going to get. So, number one, they're way behind in that because, these kids that go to, whether it's Carver Middle School or these kids that are growing up in elementary schools around Tulsa, they are wearing their colors when they're kids, and they're looking up to those guys. And then on top of that, I'll never forget talking to a guy, Steve Marshall, who you guys know pretty well. And we made the comment, it's about a handful of years ago. I said, you're doing a lot of youth football over here in Oklahoma City, and they were trying to have a resurgence in youth football. And they said, well, yeah, we play on Tuesday nights. And I said, why do you play on Tuesday nights? And he said, well, Saturdays for college. And I said, that's why you're behind, because the INFC and what they do over here in Tulsa, you play on Saturdays, and from that point, if you're an alumni, Rocky Kelmus or Matt McCoy, or you got kids playing in the INFC, you don't go to your college game, you go to your kids' game, and that's where the focus is.
Before we start talking about specific high school football on the west and the east side, give us an idea, how long does it take to put this together, and when do you first publish? Where do you find the magazine?
We start working on it in April. You got to get a hold of all these coaches. The coaches like to go through their spring ball before they talk to us because they want to know who's going to be playing and everything. We put it out. We try to get it out as early in July as we can. So in Tulsa, the easiest way to get it in Tulsa is to go to Midwest Sporting Goods. That's where we have it. John Lasseter, those guys, they really do a good job making it available. You can also go to VYPE.com. We put it in the mail that day. And anybody in the Tulsa area, you're going to get it the next day. So we make it as available as we can. But yeah, it's 350 plus pages is an undertaking. So
hold this up, Austin. Take a look at this thing. It really is a massive, and it has everything, all the high schools. Great way to promote high school sports in the state here, Gil, for sure.
And no question. And this is a time I think that high school athletics really need the help. The finances we know what are at the state level and so on, and we get so inundated with 10 games on Saturday.
No question.
And that dollar. I said this 35 years ago when I was at Union. I said, I love ESPN. But ESPN is going to kill high school and small college athletics because you got to make a reason for them to come to that gymnasium or that stadium simply because they're going to stay home and see 5 games.
No question. No question. Anything we can do to help out.
That's right. Austin Chadwick, publisher of VYPE magazine, will be back with the second segment where he's going to talk specific about the West and the East. And is this the year of the West and top of the East in the big school division? We'll find out from Austin Chadwick. We return on Oklahoma Sportscene, presented by Jimmy's Egg.
There is no limit to what we will do to help the next generation. As Oklahoma's only affiliate of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we are able to deliver state-of-the-art treatment and the most innovative clinical trials to kids with cancer and blood disorders. This is truly world-class care, right here at home. The St. Jude Affiliate Clinic at the Children's Hospital at St. Francis. Healthcare for life.
Henry Primo for Primo Mitsubishi. We're the #1 Mitsubishi dealer in July in Oklahoma, and we're only 90 days old. With school starting, football coming, and summer ending, now's the time for a new vehicle. Our prices are still the same. 2018 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport, $17,995, and a 2018 Mitsubishi Mirage for $12,995. We still have 0% financing, free loaner cars, and your own concierge service. Come catch the excitement. Primo Mitsubishi, 15309 South Memorial.
We're back on Oklahoma Sportscene, this week presented by Jimmy's Egg, and our special guest, the publisher of VYPE magazine. It is the preeminent pre-high school season magazine, all the football teams from across the state, as well as our big colleges as well. And our publisher, Austin Chadwick, is with us here. Austin, let's get right to it now. Who are the powers on the west side? Who have the best chance to knock off these 6A dominants over here on the east side?
Well, in 6A1, in the biggest class, I don't see much coming from the west side as far as a team that is really going to be able to compete. There's some are going to make the playoffs. One, Adam Gaylor's got a good squad down there at Mustang, but you get into these situations to where the kind of dominance that you've seen on the east side, I don't see it going a whole lot of other places other than Owasso, Union, possibly Broken Arrow this year. And then Jenks, honestly, is probably going to be the #4 school in the east side, just because of what's returning, what the other schools have coming back. Obviously, Coach Riggs has to replace Alan Trimble. They've got to reload a little bit, and they're trying to do that. But as far as talent coming back, it's going to be those 3 schools again with Owasso, Union, and Broken Arrow.
How about 5A? What do you think about 5A?
Ooh, 5A is a good one, obviously. Now, when you get into some of these things in 5A, and so now one of the things I always like to look at when it comes to, especially some of the schools that you've got some of your schools involved with, is that, at what level would they play at? Can some of these schools play in 6A1 or 6A2? And of course they could, absolutely. But 5A is still a legit big school division with 32 teams. So there's no easy road in 5A. Some of the different ones that we've had, obviously Carl Albert has been up there, and with their new coach, he has taken on the reins from Gary Rose and continued that success. You're seeing a little bit more of the Guthrie has waned a little bit. Some of these schools to where it creates more opportunity. But overall, in 5A, we've got a handful. But you got to give Carl Albert the nod. They got a lot of kids coming back. So
in 4A.
4A is a lot of fun. Wagner obviously was dominant for so long. They should reload. They got another good crop of kids coming through. You get some of your local schools like Cashin. Some of the schools, Cashin's now going back down to 3A, which probably is where they need to be. Right. So obviously Wagner's a good one for 4A, and you look at across the state, you start getting less teams around the Tulsa area in 4A. But overall, I think Wagner's probably going to be your favorite. So,
it seems to me, and just looking at the upper classes in 6A and 5A, that what has happened in Northeast Oklahoma or Metropolitan Tulsa has been the hours and the everything that was spent to make it what it is today.
No question.
When you look at Union and Jenks and Broken Arrow, Owasso, now that just didn't happen at a snap of a finger. Don't you think that the people in metropolitan Oklahoma City are beginning to pick up on that and do the same thing?
I think they're trying to figure it out. Now, this is one of those things. They're in denial. They really are. A lot of them don't want to figure it out. They want to just basically say, hey, whether or not we've taken on the philosophy of splitting our schools, you need to do the same thing and get on our playing field. You look at Mustang, Yukon, Deer Creek's another one. They're not going to split. They're going to stay as big as they can stay, and they're they're going about it the way that a lot of these East Side schools have. But this has been going on for decades. I was a part of it. I grew up in the system with Bill Blankenship at Union. And I try to explain to people, when I go to the west side of the state in Oklahoma City, Jim Traver loves to get me on because I'll ruffle the feathers a little bit. I'm just like, listen, you guys got to understand, no matter how hard your kids are working, they're working just as hard on the East Side, and they've been doing it for a long time. And so not only do you have to go out work those teams that have been doing it and have really built great programs over here in the Tulsa area, you can't, they're not just going to give it to you, so you got to go take it. And so from that standpoint, I mean, you just look at what some of these programs have done, and even the Tulsa public schools. I mean, when you are growing up, you know exactly who you're going to play for. You grow up through the INFC, you get good coaching, you get everything that you need to get, and these kids just know how to work.
I think one of the things that may have separated the East from the West early on, back in 1976, when some districts made a commitment to build facilities that were next to none. And you look at that now, and you look around in the metropolitan area and the facilities, the indoor workout areas, everything that's there was not relevant on the west side of the state.
No doubt.
The first school to have turf was on the east side of the state. And
Union
High School. And it was
indoor practice facilities.
It was
now.
Controversial, but they made that. We had superintendents and boards of education that made that commitment to their kids. And you can sit and gripe all you want to about that,
but it's not. But it's a community deal.
Absolutely.
Even last year, Owasso passed a massive bond issue, massive. And what it does for the athletic facilities, they got a little indoor facility now that they can go in and practice in. Brand new jumbotron out there. So these communities get involved, obviously, with that, and everybody pulls the same rope. That's what I always say. The difference is in Tulsa, whatever community you're in, or whether school district you're in, you generally get if it's a small town, the administration of the school, the athletic department, and the community is all pulling the same rope. And they might not agree on everything, but one thing they agree on is our kids are going to have the best we can give them. And so that's one of those commitments that you talk about.
When you stop and think about what has happened with bond issues around the city of Tulsa and the suburban areas, I mean, who would have ever thought that Tulsa would spend $92 million on athletics? But Keith Ballard said we were going to do that.
We're going to do it.
And who would have thought that we'd renovate one side of the stadium for $22 million at Union?
Yeah.
I mean, so when you're committed to the excellence that those kids need to have to play academically and athletically at the next level, then you invest dollars. That's what's happening.
It is. Yeah.
Also interesting, too, the quality of athletes. A small state like Oklahoma just amazes people nationwide.
It's funny. Matt Baker was one of Michael Peters' Tulsa World guys a handful of years ago. He did a research, and it was an article called Star Search. And he did a per capita Division I scholarships granted, and he ranked them by state and by pretty much DMAs, basically nationwide. Tulsa was number 8 in the country. Now you got to remember, this is about 8 or 9 years ago. Union and Jenks put out a lot of kids. Booker T put out a lot of kids. East Central was putting out some kids. And Oklahoma as a state ranks 7th per capita in the country. And so we know how to play football, obviously, in the state. Now, what's great is that you get kids. We got Dax Hill on the cover of this magazine. You've got kids like Josh Proctor last year at Owasso. These kids are getting offered by Ohio State, Alabama. I mean, you name it. Sure. Now, up until about 5 or 6 years ago, Alabama, Florida State, Ohio State rarely came to Oklahoma. Rarely. And so now that it's not a secret anymore. Now these big-time programs, no matter what conference they're in, they got to go to Tulsa. And the beauty is, like you said, Brad Caleb will call you and say, Coach, I got 8 Division I coaches here. Well, the other kids get seen as well. And then the other schools around the area, if a coach is going to come watch Dax Hill, he's also going to go over to Broken Arrow, and he's going to go over to Union. And next thing you know, the awareness of our great athletes is being perceived much better across the country. So,
have something for Austin here?
I sure do, Austin. I know that all those long hours that you're spending putting this book together. Anytime from 6 to 2, you can go to Jimmy's Egg.
I can do that
and get the best meal you're going to have.
This is one of my favorite places. These guys, I can't remember he's from Edmond, the guy that owns it all.
Yeah, Brad.
And Brad is a good dude, and he helps out TU sometimes.
Yes,
it is a great deal, and we love going there. Their Southwest omelet. That's what we do.
Publisher of VYPE magazine, Austin Chadwick. Get to Midwest Sporting Goods on this side of the state, in Oklahoma City. You'll find it in the area there as well. And it's the Bible of especially high school football in this state. So make sure you get a copy of it. Austin, again, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Back with a very special guest and a special story right after this.
Welcome to Jimmy's Egg. For more than 30 years, Jimmy's Egg has been starting people's day off right with hot, fresh, made-to-order food. Our eggs are fresh, cracked to order every time, and there are over 40,000 ways to craft your own omelet. With signature favorites like our meat lovers skillet or decadent cinnamon roll pancakes, it won't leave hungry. Breakfast and lunch is available every day from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., so stop in today and let our friendly staff serve you.
Stop by and see us sometime.
30 years ago, a race began along a quarter mile of dirt and dreams in Oklahoma City. Today, with the biggest prize money and the best horses, that glittering quarter mile is home to the best quarter horse racing on earth. Remington Park proudly presents our biggest quarter horse season ever, celebrating 30 years of hard racing fun. World's best, OKC's own, Remington Park.
We mentioned we have a very special guest at Oklahoma Sportscene. He overdressed for the part here, but that's, of course, the Hall of Fame basketball coach at the University of Kansas, an OU basketball player, the great Ted Owens himself. We're going to talk about his book, At the Hang-Up, and a great story about his national championship win, but it wasn't in basketball. The reason Coach is dressed up is, of course, he's going to be shown tonight at the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame inductions in Oklahoma City, the Norman area there. Going into that class are Joe Castiglione, former Miami football coach Larry Coker, along with Ken Mendenhall, former Sooner, OSU baseball and Major League star Robin Ventura, Jenks High School legendary coach Alan Trimble, Matt Hoffman, who does incredible bicycle tricks, BMX guy, and the rodeo pioneer, the late Bill Pickett. So a great class going into the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremonies here in early August. Coach is there because he is a Hall of Fame member. Coach Owens, welcome to the show, and you take it from here, Gil, with the ties to Cameron College.
Well, I tell you what is so great to follow somebody like Ted Owens to be the baseball coach. I was the baseball coach at Cameron, and of course you reestablished the baseball program when you went there. So tell us about how that happened and about that national championship.
When I interviewed for the job, the athletic director said, you'll be assistant football coach, head basketball coach, teach 4 classes of U.S. history, which they named the history class Uncle Ted's Story Hour. And we want you to start a baseball program. So they said, we haven't had a program in 27 years, but we want you to start one here. And because we think it will help us to recruit some basketball and some football players who want to play both sports.
Now what year was this, Ted? What was your starting salary?
1956.
Starting salary?
$4,200. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I didn't know what to do with all the money. But anyway, at the end of basketball season, I asked where the baseball field was. Well, they had no baseball field, no uniforms, no pitcher's mound, no backstop, and the only way that we could have a game is that I had a friend out at Fort Sill said you can come out and scrimmage. So that's how baseball started there. Well, the second year, I didn't even want to have a team. I wanted to get out and recruit. We had a great basketball team, but we're losing every starter. And so I said, guys, I've got to get out and recruit. I can't have a team this year. And the school didn't want me to because they'd gone into the Pioneer Conference that didn't even have baseball. So nobody wanted to, except we had promised those guys that we'd have a baseball team. So they put the guilt trip on me. So at the end of the year, we still hadn't played anybody, hadn't played a game. We couldn't, with no uniforms, no home field. And at the end of the year, they said, Coach, we hear they're having a national championship in baseball. And so they wanted me to call, so I called Amarillo, Dr. Carter, and the regional director, and I said, Dr. Carter, how can we qualify for the tournament? He said, well, Coach, he said, you can, he said, I haven't heard anything about your team. And I said, well, sir, we haven't lost to a college team this year. So I get word 2 days later that we qualify, that we're going to host the regional tournament. So we scrambled, found an old field, redid the field, found some uniforms from Fort Sill, a friend out of Fort Sill, and we sweep 4 games and qualify for the national tournament. And so we had in those 2 station wagons up to Miami, Oklahoma for the national championship, and we're big underdogs. We had only we'd played 4 games. Phoenix had played 64 games, had won 60 and lost 4. Well, we win the first game, beat Phoenix, stunned everybody. Yeah. We win the second game, and now we're playing for the national championship. Unbelievable. Homer Thomas, the great coach at Northeastern, he was thrilled that they were going to catch this ragtag outfit from, and Northeastern and Cameron hated each other. I mean, it isn't a bitter rivalry. So they're going to catch us in the national championship game. Well, we got off to a great start, and then they rallied, and pretty soon I noticed that here were my sophisticated signals. If I went to my cap bill, B is bunt. If I went skin to my skin, S was steal. Okay, so I noticed late in the game that every time I'd go to my cap bill, Northeastern would holler, watch for a bunt, and I'd go here and they'd say, watch for a steal. So brilliantly, I called the team together and I said, guys, we're going to switch signals. That now this is steal and this is bunt. So Northeastern rallies, scores tied. We get a guy on first and second, 2-3 count on the batter, and I want to get the runners moving. So I give him the steal sign. I'd forgotten that I'd changed the signal. So my batter, the first baseman, lays down a perfect bunt, and they grab the ball, throw it into right field. We score 2 runs, win the national championship. After the game, the Baylor coach came over and said, Coach, that's the most brilliant piece of strategy I've ever seen. and to today, nobody ever knew that I was the last guy that knew that he was going to bunt.
Show off that championship ring, Coach.
Okay, right there.
Like that. And then hold up the book there. This is At the Hang-Up by Ted Owens. The great stories in there. You can get all the details and stuff. Show it to the camera, Coach. Let them see that book front there. And Coach, hoping they'll make a movie out of this too. It's a fabulous story.
Yeah, the 7th chapter of the book. Right. Magnificent season. And right now, some people in Hollywood are looking at it, and we hope that they'll like it.
Well, we've all read the book, and Coach has some great stories in there too about a lot of other things.
And there's a lot of people that are still in Lawton, that were there, and their kids are there, and like I said, what a great sports town it was.
Oh, it's a wonderful sports town. I don't know that I ever enjoyed coaching more than I did there.
Coach, a great story. Thanks for joining us. You look great.
Thanks for having me.
I'll honor you tonight, the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. And real quickly, your son, Teddy, is back here from Florida and going to be the head basketball coach at Holland Hall here in town.
We are thrilled. And he's back. Holland Hall is a great school and a great opportunity for him. And his biggest problem is that I only live a mile away from the campus. And I understand he's considering closing practice to keep me from coming to practice. But
you have something for Coach here.
I sure do, Coach. I think congratulations on your induction to the Hall of Fame.
Thank
you. And you can take your wife out tomorrow morning and celebrate at Jimmy's Eggs.
At Jimmy Eggs. All right. Good.
Thanks, Coach. Glad to have Teddy Owens back in town. Not as happy as his wife, Michelle, his mother, and of course, he got the 2 grandchildren back as well. So good to have all the Owens families back in Tulsa, Oklahoma, back with more of Oklahoma Sports Scene. After I tell you something about Jimmy's Egg. Of course, we had the egg on earlier to talk about the incredible restaurants there that open again from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. every day. Talked about the new iced coffees. Be sure to try those flavors. Original, chocolate fudge, and cinnamon roll. Pancake happy hour. That goes from 11 to 2. And of course, they'll take care of your catering needs at Jimmy's Egg. Breakfast, lunch, whatever you need, they'll take good care of you at Jimmy's Egg.
Welcome to Jimmy's Egg. Come on in.
For more than 30 years, Jimmy's Egg has been starting people's day off right with hot, fresh, made-to-order food. Our eggs are fresh, cracked to order every time, and and there are over 40,000 ways to craft your own omelet. With signature favorites like our meat lovers skillet or decadent cinnamon roll pancakes, you won't leave hungry. Breakfast and lunch is available every day from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., so stop in today and let our friendly staff serve you.
Stop by and see us sometime.
Henry Primo for Primo Mitsubishi. We're the #1 Mitsubishi dealer in July in Oklahoma, and we're only 90 days old. With school starting, football coming, and summer ending, now's the time for a new vehicle. Our prices are still the same. 2018 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport, $17,995, and a 2018 Mitsubishi Mirage for $12,995. We still have 0% financing, free loaner cars, and your own concierge service. Come catch the excitement. Primo Mitsubishi, 15309 South Memorial.
Hope you've enjoyed all our guests here on Oklahoma Sports Scene, our first show in August, presented by Jimmy Zegg. Now at the end of the show, it's time as always for our parting shots, and J.B. Haney leads us off.
Well, I'm sure that a lot of you watch as much baseball as I do on television, but how many times do you watch the little kids play? Well, this last week I have seen more Little League Baseball on TV than ever, and how those kids play is so remarkable. And what really got my impression was the way they dress. They dress like baseball players. They have on the right suits. They do everything as far as backing up, as far as doing, taking a pitch when it needs to be taken, taking an extra base. I mean, it was just so much fun to watch Little League Baseball, and I can't wait. I'm going to watch it again.
I can't wait to get through this fall. There's another group that started a fall high school basketball, and this is prior to the high school basketball season. I would like to warn any of you out there to be careful with having your son or daughter play. And once school starts, son or daughter could get injured and throw away a junior or senior season. This is a proliferation of the use of kids for the advancement of adults. There's no question in my mind, and I am really, really concerned. The cost $100 a piece, and the bait is will get you more exposure. Well, I'm going to tell you, the college coaches know where the players are, and they talk to the other college coaches to find out where the other players are. I don't think you have to play a fall season 4 Tuesdays in a row with a championship game in Oklahoma City the last Saturday in September to determine who the players are. Be very careful if you sign your son or daughter up for one of these leagues.
My parting shot is it's time for football, and it's preseason magazine time. Of course, Phil Steele's kind of the Bible for nationwide and locally here at VYPE, as you heard from Austin Chadwick, our special guest here, talk about his magazine. These are the magazines that talk about all the preseason football analysis, give you all the lowdown, all the teams, how you think they'll be doing. And of course, it's all conjecture at this point. It really gets excited about the football season coming up. The big four of these magazines are Phil Steele's, along with Street and Smith, Lindy's, and Athlon magazine. They composite top 25 college football poll, by the way. If you put them together, the same big three football powers, Alabama 1, Clemson 2, Ohio State 3. The highest ranked of the Big 12 teams, not surprising, Oklahoma, unanimous pick to win a 4th straight Big 12 championship. Nationally, they're ranked as high as 5th by Street and Smith, 9th by the other 3 publications, so OU is about 8th in the preseason composite poll. In the Big 12 rankings, Texas, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, all also in those top 25. It's a good starting point. It's great to get people talking, though, and football is back. All right, guys, let's look at the Tulsa Drillers. They've been on a roll right now, leading the Texas League as we tape today, north by 4 games through August the 6th. And they are on the road for a couple weeks and come back for August 14th and 19th, hosting Corpus Christi and San Antonio. But the Drillers are playing well.
Well, they committed, after the first half debacle at the end when they had a chance to wrap it up. Coach committed and the players committed they were going to win the second half, and I think they've done a really, really good job.
And they do that almost every year.
They do.
They're tough in the second half.
And I was glad that the trade deadline really didn't mix up that lineup too much. Sometimes that will wreck you in minor league baseball, but I think they have the right players in the right position.
And the Roughnecks are on the road for 4 matches for the first part of August here, but then they're back home at One Oak Field. They have 3 straight matches, August the 15th, 19th, and 22nd. Season runs through October 13th. Go to roughnecks.com for all the information. Hey, join us next Oklahoma Sports Scene. We'll have some very special guests on, somebody in the TU football program. Looking forward to that, and hope you enjoyed our Oklahoma Sports Scene presented by Jimmy Zegg. We'll see you next time.